Hello, everyone. So, welcome to the latest episode of Conversations with Zingdad. By now, you're used to us having a conversation and talking about what's going on in our lives. And I thought for once, I'll turn the tables and say, Lise, what's happening in your life?
Well, honestly, it's a very difficult time for me. For those of you who don't know, you watched the video about Arn and I consciously uncoupling, and in the meantime, Arn has moved out, and so I'm living in our home on my own with my little dog, and it's a challenge. I'm struggling a bit. There's a lot of changes, and there's a lot that I'm having to deal with.
Yeah. So the theme of today's conversation with Zingdad is big changes. We're experiencing big changes. We spoke about uncoupling some time ago, as Lisa referred to, and on some level I thought uncoupling is like it's a thing that you do and then it's done. And what's become very present to me is that these kind of big changes it's not something you do and it's done. It's something you do and then you process and you process and you process. Painful changes are things that we need to grieve. And there's a grieving process and it's not done until you're done. And this is a time worldwide of big changes. We're not unique in this. We're not the only ones going through big changes. What is unique at this time is that kind of everybody is experiencing really big changes. I mean, I can share with you, friends, within the last couple of years, both of my parents died. They were divorced, but they died within 6 weeks of each other. And I know that a lot of you are experiencing these kinds of things. A lot of people are losing, people close to them are dying. And like us, people are experiencing seismic shifts in their relationships. Sometimes the deep and close relationships, but sometimes it's also like the friendships. Friendships are imploding. People are moving locations. With all of the pandemic insanity, a lot of people changed careers, or their career situation changed. Changes and changes and changes and changes. Big changes are sweeping the world. They're sweeping the world on a personal level, like what's happened with us, but because the world is a holographic representation. Individuals are feeling the changes. It's happening in the world. It's happening galactically, universally. This is a time of really, really fundamental change. And, I thought we had equipped ourselves for big change. I've been receiving messages, forever. I've been told, this is coming. So we prepped ourselves up to the hilt. We did all the smart things. But somehow you can't prepare yourself for these kind of emotional shocks. And that's what a lot of people are finding their feet swept out under them with these kinds of shocks. And friends, the challenge is that it's only just begun. We are entering into a window of change. And the changes that are coming, you're starting, if your eyes are open, and I will share some links and some things in case you haven't been watching this. If your eyes are open, you're starting to see the hints of these big changes coming. In the news right now, in the cycle right now, there's this kind of whistleblower that's busy talking about, that in fact, UFOs are not a fringe conspiracy theory thing. The United States government has been tracking them for decades, like since the 30s, since the 40s, I don't know. And they know about them, and in fact they've got some craft, and in fact they've even, they've got like the pilots that died in the craft. And, oh my God, this is all coming out right now. And for all along, we've been told that it's fringe conspiracy theory, like crackpots like Zingdad, who channel weirdo aliens, have been talking about this. Now suddenly it's entering the news cycle. And that's just one thing. Everything that you know, that you rely on, that you trust, the world financial system, the banking system, that you can kind of trust that there's sort of worldwide peace, that you can trust that your society, your community, your country has a certain stability. All of that is up for change right now. And what's going to start happening is we're going to see people who aren't prepared, somewhat psychologically prepared. Now, how do you prepare psychologically? Well, there's a journey of, finding your truth within yourself, finding your connection to spirit within yourself. There's a journey of that prepares you for emotional shocks. But people who aren't prepared, what's coming is transition shock, ontological shock, existential shock. When people go into existential shock, they lose their bananas. They lose it. If everything that you think makes you safe, if everything that makes you safe, it disappears. I'm safe because I've got a good job, and I've got my investments, and I've got my insurance, and I've got and
pension fund,
and the country is stable, and there's social security, and there's food stamps, and also the church, and also the government, and all of this stuff. That's why I'm safe. And all of that stuff goes away. Boom. What happens? People implode. They shatter psychologically. When you've shattered psychologically, you're not coping, you're not processing. If it happens to you alone, you have like this kind of a nervous breakdown sort of thing. Now you have a nervous breakdown, your friends, your family, there's hospitals, but if everybody around you, if like half of the population is in existential shock, there are no reserves, there are no resources. The reserves and resources are themselves in existential shock. Everything's imploding. We are in for big changes. We're in for a challenging time. And what we're experiencing now is just a preview. It's kind of a taster. It's kind of a warning. For those of us whose souls are signed up for the journey of being Earth partners, for watching these changes, it's going to be challenging. It's going to be very challenging indeed. I've been told that it's like, we're passing through this transition time. We're passing through it. And something with all of this stress, the middle can't hold, and it implodes and it collapses and breaks. The world as you know it breaks. Apocalypse eschaton is the biblical term for it. It's the implosion, the collapse of the veil of illusion. When the veil of illusion collapses, then you see what is. Now, the veil of illusion of this world is busy collapsing. If you watched what happened with the whole coronavirus vaccination, all of that thing, you saw how the machinery that began to operate to convince us all to go along with the narrative. And suddenly you couldn't doubt anymore that there is a machinery. Where before we said, Illuminati, weirdo crackpots like Zingdad, talk about the Illuminati. But it's not really so. It couldn't really be. Well, it's a lot easier to believe that there is a dark elite behind the scenes with an agenda and manipulation, pulling strings. If the whole world, all of our politicians, all of our leaders, everybody is all saying, do this, and this is very bad for you. Well, it becomes more and more difficult to hide. The veil, we are seeing the reins of control. So the veil is obvious, and that's before it falls. But when the veil falls, people who are attached to that veil, people whose sense of security lies in that veil, kind of go with it.
This all sounds pretty terrifying to me. So I'm just thinking, given the personal change that I've been through and how that's affected me, I'm just thinking, what do we do? What do I do? How do I cope with so much more change that's coming when I think most of us feel a little bit wrung out and a little bit emotionally fraught and just exhausted. How do we prepare ourselves for what's coming?
Yeah. So thank you for that question. So I didn't realize it at the time. I received this inspiration to launch this thing, which we've called the Full Moon Gathering of the Tribe of Light. At the time, I thought, I knew what it was about. The way Spirit has, it plants a seed, and only when the seed germinates and you see the fruit, you go, oh, that's what it was. It was a fruit tree. I didn't know. So yeah, my fruit trees always have a few nuts on them. But the surprising fruit that's arrived is that there's meaning beyond what I thought it was for this gathering, and this gathering is really it's about that. It's about bringing together a core of people who are on a journey together, and the journey starts with connecting with your heart, connecting with unconditional love. It proceeds through, how to let go of the burdens you're carrying. Then, surprise, surprise, Adamu appears and talks about what's going on in the world. So it's some food for your brain to understand why this is happening. And when you start to understand why it's happening, when it starts to make sense, we don't get stuck intellectually when we see the purpose. And there really is a purpose. Adamu's first transmission was very interesting. Then we had Q&A with Adamu. People attending the process sent in their questions. And one of the most surprising, kind of sea-changing conversations or interactions, probably the most surprising one I've ever had with Adamu, was in that Q&A, where he really got to the nitty-gritty of why this is happening and how spirit is allowing for this, because this is all, in the greater scheme of things, a good thing, and that there really, really is light at the end of the tunnel. There's a whole new world is being born. You can't birth a new world without the old world dying. They say when a woman gives birth, she dies, because you're no longer that woman, you are now the mother. And she dies so that there might be two, the mother and the baby. Whether you like that metaphor or not, this is what's happening. The old world is dying. And the old world is built upon all kinds of problematic toxicities. And those that are attached to that old world can't go on to the new timeline. If you bring everybody that's in the world now into the new timeline, then we'll have the same world just repeating. So, for now, this is what I can say, is that the full moon gathering of the Tribe of Light is about that. It's about resourcing you to be not just a survivor of the change, but to thrive, and to prepare you to be a co-creator. This is what Adamu has invited us to be, conscious co-creators of the future timeline. There is time, but we've got to get on that right now. So I guess this is, unexpectedly, this is an invitation, folks. If you aren't already part of the Tribe of Light, it's strongly advised that you begin at the beginning. We'll put a link on the screen, and there'll be links in the description below to come along and join the Tribe of Light. Start at number 1, work your way through, catch up to where we are, get your heart and get yourself aligned with what we're doing. The guidance I get from Spirit is that the next Tribe of Light is going to be with beautiful you, Lisa.
Oh. really?
So folks, Lisa is developing, is doing really well, is developing amazing competencies with things like emotional release, with embodied work. There's kind of like a gap in my teaching. My teaching is all, mental stuff and spiritual stuff and upper chakras. And Lisa's really great at the embodied teaching. And when you are struggling with these kind of shocks, when you're struggling with what's going on, often what's needed is for you to release from your body the tension, the stress, the pain, the suffering. So there's an embodied process. There are still more questions. There are questions left over from the last session. So I anticipate that Adamu will be appearing again at the next one. So a little bit with Lisa, a bit with Adamu.
Well, that's some pretty august company that I will be keeping, me and Adamu. Wow.
Lisa and Adamu. Yeah.
Woo.
So
I'm not worthy.
So Adamu would tell you certainly are. So, but what I'm saying is that this is a journey, and I'm inviting people to get on the train, to be a part of the journey with us, to be a part of the ongoing conversation. I don't know where it goes. Spirit leads me, and I keep being surprised where I'm led. But this is what it's about. It's about getting together at least once a month and having deep conversation. And it's not just words and thoughts and ideas, it's experiences, and stuff for your heart, stuff for your soul, stuff for your emotional body, stuff for your physical body, and we are also going to be on a journey of co-creating the new timeline that we all want to be on, because what's busy happening, as I say, is the old world is crumbling. At some point it breaks, it falls apart, and what replaces it? What's there? Well, depending on your frequency of consciousness, this is what I've been told all along, depending on your frequency of consciousness, there's a timeline that opens. If your soul really hasn't sparked, if you're really stuck at a low level of consciousness and you're other responsible, well, there's nothing wrong with you, you just haven't graduated, so you go back in the wash of time, you go round again. So that next time round you'll be ready, next time round you spark. But for those of us, obviously those listening to this conversation, for those of us on the awakening journey, there are some higher frequency timelines with some, I'm told, really joyous, beautiful, wonderful experiences to be had of the new earth that we are here to birth.
Oh, that sounds pretty wonderful. So when is the next full moon gathering on?
So I'm terrible with dates.
I think it's the 2nd of July, right?
Sounds good. Thank you. But so check out that link that takes you to the Tribe of Light. If you are up to date, in other words, if you're caught up, if you're with us on the journey, then you book the latest one. If you aren't, start where you are, catch up, join us. What the journey that is unfolding is surprising me. It's much more than I anticipated or expected, and I'd love to have you along.
Yeah. Okay.
So, thank you, Lisa, very much for joining us for this latest conversation with Zingdad, and we'll see you all at the Tribe of Light. If not, I suppose I'll see you again at the next conversation with Zingdad. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.